Oh, but when you get better, your bar will grow bigger. I don't think a bar is gonna help me with these dumbass fish. Oh my god. What the fuck was that? These are those fish where I'm like, maybe I'll just stop fishing so that way I don't have to do it anymore. Yeah. Hmm. And just like that, we're done. We're done fishing for ever.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining me, and thank you to Chanzlyn for joining me this morning. We found a day to make it work. How's it going?
Not too bad. I'm just stuffing my face. Sorry, I realized my headset was put away.
No, no problem. What's for breakfast this morning?
Cinnamon roll and hard-boiled eggs.
Oh, that's a fantastic breakfast. Have you
Yeah, every
ever?
time I have a pastry, I always have like hard-boiled eggs.
Why is that? That's a
Hard-boiled eggs are
combination.
easy.
Okay, that makes sense.
I like to have a protein with my breakfast, and I usually don't have like bacon or eggs ready at the go, whereas hard-boiled eggs I can make like days in advance.
I realized as I got old, like in my 30s, that if I didn't have protein with like carbs in the morning, I would get like shaky in the
Yep.
afternoon. And I was like, post 30 life. Why do we live past 30? Oh my god. Have you ever had chili with a cinnamon roll?
No.
Okay, so that seems like a very strange combination.
I
And I'd never
mean,
had.
there's a lot of strange combinations, but I don't judge them. It's me thinking like, what is that flavor profile? It's interesting. I could see it.
It's apparently a Nebraska thing. Uh, my mother-in-law, they every Christmas would do cinnamon rolls and chili. They wouldn't put the chili on the cinnamon roll. They would have cinnamon roll on a plate, chili in a bowl. And I thought that's a strange combination. And then when we went to Nebraska for a family function, it was like a combination that they served like at restaurants.
Huh.
It yeah.
Interesting.
So
Like I could see it working because cinnamon is a very common spice with a lot of savory dishes. It helps bring out the like savory flavor within things. But
okay.
I've never had it, so I'm very like I kind of want to try this now.
Would you consider yourself a more baker or chef or both?
Oh, definitely bigger.
Okay, more in the baking side of things. Um,
Absolutely.
I should introduce you guys. Everybody, this is Chanzlyn. Chanzlyn and
Hey,
I have known each other for uh,
ever.
many years now. I
It's been a long time.
5.
Something. I think so.
Yes, which in Twitch years is basically forever. Um,
Actually.
Chanzlyn I met through an online community that no longer exists, a place where I actually met many of you guys still here in chat. And how did you? She does a million things. You're a baker, you're a streamer, you're a photographer, you do cosplay, you make dice, you are an advocate for charity and for furthering causes of marginalized communities, and you are someone that I personally look up to very much. So I'm very, very happy to have you here.
Say that. Don't make me cry. We just started.
Well, I saw the shirt. Like I don't know why I'm wearing my own shirt now. I look like an asshole wearing the.
It's called branding. Your
I need to
chest
change.
is obviously an advertisement space. So you can
Right.
go to brands and being like, look, people see
I'm
this.
not monetizing every aspect of my life. I'm screwing up. So says society.
Capitalism.
Capitalism, yay! What is there a Chanzlin shirt or an
No,
Island Bakery shirt?
no, because I'm far behind on everything in my life.
Is the Island Bakery is the name of your community, right?
Yes.
I guess that may sound self-explanatory, but how did you come up with the community name?
So one of the big things that I really wanted to focus on with streaming and just my overall social media presence is that I'm Pacific Islander and I want to share my culture and have other people be kind of more aware of Pacific Islanders because I feel like we're often left out of the narrative. And growing up, I didn't have very many people that I could look up to that were Pacific Islanders that had like a social stance. And that isn't to say that I'm like the best representation or the only representation. It's I realize even though I can't find it, what I can do is make it. And so I decided to just go ahead, put myself out there, emphasize my Pacific Islander heritage, and then added to it, I love baking. It's always been a passion of mine since I was like 3. And so I was like, you know what, let's just tie both of those together. Like an island bakery is something that I would always love to have. I feel like that would be another life for me is I own my own bakery out on the islands and it's just a chill time every single day.
Do you have like a signature baked good that you like would be your go-to? Like if you were going to create a menu for this island bakery, like your thing that you'd be known for?
Probably my white chocolate chip macadamia nut cookies.
Okay, that sounds fantastic. Or everybody's gonna, yeah, at 8:20 in the morning, you guys are gonna go cookie crazy.
Yep,
So how,
time to go
how'd
eat
you get into
cookies.
streaming to begin with? Were you a viewer or were you a streamer first?
Technically, I was a streamer first. So it's been an interesting journey for me with streaming because I technically started like 7+ years or so ago. And it was just because I was bored. I was in college. I was like, you know what? I heard about this thing. It seems cool. I love to play video games. Why not? And so I streamed once and then I never streamed for like a year and a half. And then I came
What
back.
you
I
mean
was
one
like,
single session and then a year and a
just
half
one
later?
single, yeah.
Do you remember what it was? Do you remember what you streamed?
Oh God, no. I know it was not anything super like high-end graphics, or it was probably something like Super Meat Boy because I know that my computer was not a good like gaming computer, much less a streaming computer. And I didn't have anything to connect any of my consoles because I was mainly a console player at the time. And so I was just like, we'll just play a very simple game and see how it goes.
Uh-huh.
And then I was like, I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't know what I'm doing. And so then I just stopped streaming and then I kind of kept that pace. Like the next year I streamed one day and then I didn't stream again for a year and then I streamed one more day and I was like, why do I why do I do this? Until finally right around the time that you and I met, I started streaming because I wanted to reprioritize things in my life. Like my mom had passed away at the time, and so I started kind of going through a disconnect with life. I was like, I want to like I miss people, I miss hanging out with people, and I feel like I need to stay distracted. And so um, I started reevaluating a lot of things that were going on, and one of them was cosplay. Cosplay took a lot of my life, and I realized the thing about me is I work under pressure. I work best under pressure. So when I'm given a deadline, I literally wait until the last possible minute to do the thing. So with cosplay, there's the deadline of the convention, and I'm like, oh, it's like 3 months away. I have time. And so as soon as it's like a month before the convention, I was like, I have time to make like 5 cosplays. Yeah, that's totally reasonable to make 5 cosplays in like
One for
3
each
weeks.
day.
Yeah, I was like, it's totally fine. And so I would essentially block off the entire month from hanging out with anybody, playing any video games, doing anything that was not cosplay related. So I'd have a ton of friends that would ask me like, "Hey, do you want to play video games?" I'm like, "Sorry, I have to cosplay." They're like, "Do you want to hang out?" I'm like, "Sorry, I have to work on cosplay." Like, if you have a cosplay to work on, come on over. But outside of that, I'll see you after the convention. And I did not like that because as much as I love cosplay, playing video games has a higher rank in my life. And so I was like, I'm missing out on a lot of games. I'm missing out on a lot of the things that I've loved and enjoyed. And so I reprioritized. Was like, all right, I'm getting back into gaming. And I think if I stream more steadily, it'll kind of give me a more steady reason to play my video games. And so that's kind of where I started picking up streaming more regularly was to find a kind of like an outlet of being able to game again.
Was there something about the streaming that, you know, as opposed to just getting into gaming by itself, like on your own, was this almost like purposeful? Like you said, you work best under a deadline or under pressure. I'm the
Hmm.
same way. If I have a YouTube video that I have to make that is just up to me to complete, that's gonna take weeks or months. But
Yeah.
if my wife was like, "Hey, you need to get your YouTube video up by the end of the day," then I'm gonna get it out and I'm gonna be happy with it. I'm gonna
Yep.
just hammer on it. So
Yep.
is it that kind of thing where like, okay, I want to game more, and so I need to add some sort of pressure to that so that I
Kinda.
can do it?
Yeah, because The other thing with me in gaming is I sometimes struggle to complete a game if it's longer than like 20-ish hours or so. So, like Tomb Raider, I could play and I could sit and play the first like 20 hours, but after that I kind of like I just stop for some reason and I'm like someday I'll get back to it. Who knows? And then when I get back to it, I'm like I don't know how to use any of these controls. I don't know what to do. So, I know I need to start over. But
So it's a time thing. Like you hit a
yeah,
certain time wall and then go, okay.
for some reason, I don't know why it is. Like some games completely hook me, other games it takes like a bit for me to get there. And so streaming definitely became a deadline of sorts of okay, well, I'm playing this game this day, and this day, and I should finish it in those days. And then I can move on from there. So it kind of helped keep me on track of completing the games I own and then also finding a community of friends that were into gaming. And that's the other part of streaming that I really wanted because all of my friends at the time were cosplayers.
Right.
And I adore my cosplaying friends. I still talk to a lot of them. We still hang out, but a good chunk of them aren't like that into gaming like I am. Um some are, but they're into very different games than I am. And so I'm just
Hmm.
like I don't connect with any of you on this hobby that I love. And so I need to
Right.
find more friends.
Is the cosplay thing something that is now behind you? Because you, it sounds like you're talking about it in the past tense, or are you just referring to that specific time? Like, do
Just
you?
that specific time.
Okay, okay. You do
Yeah.
still have cosplays that you're working on, or cosplays that you want to do.
Yes. But it's just not nearly to the extent that it was back then. Because, like, back then, I also was very much of the mind of, I have to make everything. I can't buy anything. That's ridiculous. You must make it, otherwise, you're not passionate about it.
Right.
And so now I'm like, wow, there's a lot of amazing cosplaying like websites you can buy costumes from. And so when it comes to conventions, I think I make like one, maybe two cosplays, and then I buy like two or three other costumes
Right.
because I just don't have that time.
Yeah, you know, it doesn't have to be all natural, grass fed cosplay. Store bought cosplay is just as valid.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And
I,
I know
yeah.
that the reason, like part of the reason my mindset was in the you got to make everything is because uh, I don't know if this will necessarily like date me, but it's, when I started cosplaying, we had nothing. There was no website you could go to buy costumes. Half of the references didn't exist, so you kind of made up what like the back of someone's shirt looked like. Like we had to make everything because there was nothing for us to buy. And so being stuck in that mind, like, oh, I'm one of the original cosplayers. We had to make everything from scratch. You can't find it. And now I'm just like, no, that's ridiculous. You can find it and it's amazing. The quality is great for the price that it is. Like most costumes that you buy might tear after a day, but you only need it for a day. So it's like it's worth it for me.
I feel like it's one of those cosplay. To me, seems like one of those marketplaces where it really is. eh, I don't know if this is the right word, but very pure. Like if you go to Etsy and you're gonna find someone who someone who made something like for a cosplay. These are, this is Inuyasha's sword, or this is Princess Peach's crown, or something like that.
Hmm.
You're like economically speaking, that's going to another person. Like not, I'm not saying that like it's shitty necessarily to go like buy your cosplay stuff from like Walmart or whatever, but I think that there is a big place for cosplayers supporting cosplayers in that space, and I think that's very neat. If
Yeah,
that
no,
makes any sense.
absolutely. It
That
does.
makes
It
sense.
does. Yeah, no, I love like I encourage people to buy stuff from people who do commissions in the cosplay community because the quality tends to be great. The people you work with tend to be great. I always recommend you to obviously double check the reviews because there are unfortunately the shady people all the time. But
Right. That's true. I didn't necessarily think about that aspect of it. Do
yeah,
your
it's
research.
it's a yeah. Do your research with everything you do, not just cosplay,
Right.
everything.
So like so tell me about Emporium.
Yeah. So Twitch Team Emporium is a team that I applied for back in September. They had just created themselves in June of last year, I believe. So about a year ago. And um, the main 5 team leads, they got together and decided what they wanted the team to be about, and I was so excited because I've joined a couple of teams here and there, but I found that a lot of the teams I joined on Twitch tend to be more like directories than actual teams. Like, I can't tell you the amount of teams I've joined where I'm like, I have no idea who else is on this team. I've never had
Right.
a reason to like meet these people, and I don't know how I'm going to meet these people. So don't know anything. Whereas this team, we focus on uplifting marginalized voices, sharing content creation, and then also just uplifting one another. And so, when it came to onboarding people, we keep the list small every round of like 13 to 15 people, give or take. And we have like a whole vetting process where, we ask what your content's about. We ask how you uplift marginalized voices, what you do for the community, where you stand if you are a marginalized creator. And if you aren't a marginalized creator, how do you uplift the marginalized, and so on and so forth. And then we also emphasize that we are a family and not a team. And so when you join us, you're more or less expected to communicate with us. We understand life happens, things come up. You might have an opposite schedule than us. It's totally fine, but you can't just join the team and then never say a word to us because we're like, we want to be friends. We're here to make friends. Like, this is more of a team for friends than it is for anything else.
Yeah, I feel like, and having, like, I'm not on a Twitch team, but some of the reaction that I've seen from people who've discussed Twitch teams, and so this is not scientific in any way, shape, or form, it's simply anecdotal. First of all, side note, I see you, Rain. I'm not, I don't fully ignore chat when we do an interview, but I mostly ignore you guys. But I see you, Rain.
I'm
Uh,
glancing over. I see you all.
I see you. The and the reason I did is because I lose my train of thought, like I just did. Oh, Twitch teams, is that people tend to have the Twitch team in their name, and then they just feel completely like they did the application process, they're on the team, and then so many people still feel disconnected that they don't
Yep.
like. Well, what do we do now? And
Yep.
so Emporium having a point and having that mentality sounds like what I would want in a
Yeah.
community.
Absolutely. That's the thing that took a while for me to find. And I'm starting to see teams come up that are trying to emulate that. And so I'm very excited for the future of Twitch teams because a lot of people are starting to create communities that are actually communities where they share and support one another and uplift one another and do things together versus just being a directory.
Do you miss the Twitch communities at all back when they were Twitch communities?
Oh, absolutely. Like, Twitch communities allowed people who didn't have, the partner status to be able to create a team, but still form a community together because it can be hard to invite people to your personal Discord. Like, here's my Discord for my Twitch stream, but at the same time, it's not just my Twitch stream. It's like it's a place where I want all of us to be able to chit chat, have fun on a regular basis, coordinate like game nights together and things like that.
Yeah.
And especially with the explosion of um, social media in all the various aspects that there are, it gets hard to keep track of people and communicate with people, especially in a group sense, because if somebody replies to your thread on Twitter and then somebody else replies to that, it's like, who do you reply to? How do you make sure everybody who's replying is involved? How do you connect person A and person B? It's like,
Hmm.
it's a struggle. Whereas Twitch team or Twitch communities, it allowed us to all kind of find each other. And then from there, we can create our own Discord community, chat with one another, and then build friendships.
So I don't want to blame shift here, but I feel like when Twitch removed communities, it broke a lot of shit. Like
Oh,
just
absolutely.
in general, but also I think like in terms of like our community, I think that had an enormous impact on like the community that we had been involved in.
Hmm.
Like just that absence of that was like, oh God, like, well, what do we do now? Like it's like when you have like a karaoke place that you and all your friends go to every single Sunday night, and then you show up one day and it's closed, and you're
Yep.
like, where do we go?
Yep.
IHOP?
Yeah.
It
No,
was it was
I
very weird.
completely agree. It was a weird time, and it really added a lot of disconnect. And I feel like because was a part of other communities, and it wasn't just like the one that we were part of, but a lot of the ones I was a part of just all kind of felt like they fell apart because we didn't really know how to still connect with each other.
Right? Yeah. it was, yeah, and you know, Discord fills a void to a certain extent, but so on that, on that, is that what would you change about Twitch? And you can answer that in any way that you want to. It can be a technical thing or a, you know, a social construct thing or whatever. But is there like a thing that you think that if you could have the effect that you want, like what would you change about the Twitch platform?
That's such a loaded question.
I know.
Sorry about my cough. I had a cold a few weeks ago and I'm still like at the very tail end of it.
No, you're
Um,
good.
things to change. I think one of the things that Twitch does poorly is protecting its communities and its streamers because, and that's not even just from any specific standpoint, it's from like all standpoints. I feel like Twitch tends to side with whatever is popular and not whatever is good. But in that retrospect, it's because they know they follow where the money goes, and unfortunately there isn't really a competitor for Twitch. When Mixer is around, I feel like they kind of tried to keep up the pace, but once Mixer was out of the question, there's like, oh well, we can just kind of focus on whatever's bringing us money and maximize the profits that way, and then in return, we don't have to care about anything else. Because not even from like the racial issues that have happened on Twitch and still continue to happen, because for whatever reason they don't want to try to figure out a way to fix it. They go in another direction as well, where, you know, look at our cuts as affiliates. They take 50% of everything we do. It's like that is actually ridiculous. Like no company takes 50% of what you earn.
Like
That's the most like
Microsoft and Sony are under fire for taking 30%
yeah,
of dev revenue and publisher
yeah,
revenue, and that because that seems just so exorbitant. And
right.
you're right. Yeah, 50% is um,
Yeah. And
like
it's
getting
like
mugged in the alley.
it is. I'm
that
just like, this
we
is ridiculous.
are are supposed to be also paying taxes on after that.
Right.
Like
And
that
that doesn't
sucks.
protect your community. Like that hurts your communities in so many ways. And they
Right.
just and nobody questions it because who is really fighting it at this point? I know that like Facebook Gaming has changed their subscription service and they're giving a lot more money to the creators. And so a lot of people are starting to put pressure onto Twitch because of that. But at the same time, it's Facebook Gaming. It's not really a competitor. Like,
Right. And you know, and I know that we're in sort of a different subset kind of, but we are under the Amazon umbrella.
yep,
So like it's one of those things where like, oh, the Amazon warehouse like starts at $15. They pay twice minimum wage. On paper that sounds fantastic. But like, oh, 40 hours of absolutely back-breaking like crash your car on the way home labor. It's probably not like you should probably be paying your warehouse employees $30 an hour. Like
yep,
as streamers, it's awesome. It's awesome to be able to make money like playing games. Like
right.
nobody's complaining about that. But when you have like the richest company in the history of the world and by a wide margin, um, it feels more shitty
Yeah,
combining those two things. Like, oh come on, like you guys are making money. Like
yeah,
we're making you money.
right.
So anyway, I mean, I think that's a good point. And especially about like streamer protection and like community protection and stuff. That was something that Mixer did fantastically. Like until they didn't, and it was one of the things that took me from Twitch over there was whenever I would submit a claim, I would hear back and quickly, like within 24 hours, like, oh, so someone used a racial slur in a streamer's channel, and the streamer didn't do anything about it. Like I could
Hmm.
report that and have actionable consequence quickly, and that felt like people cared.
Yeah,
And so when then you know the shutdown happened, sort of on the back of some other terrible stuff that came to light from the higher ups at Mixer, and so it was kind of a bummer. But
yep. It
uh,
sucks.
right, yeah, and And so, like, and actually, let's go back. You mentioned something that would be helpful in a way is to know, like, obviously, because like a company's umbrella consists of many different things. It's like Microsoft, right, is super profitable. They lose money on they lose money selling Xboxes, but Twitch may specifically like there's more to it necessarily. I'm not an economist, but I think that it's an important your point is made, and also I think there are tangential things related to it as well. So anyway, how do you
No.
stream prep, Chans?
What does that mean?
Like if you're getting ready to stream and like you're gonna play against, like if you're gonna do a baking stream, obviously that probably is like a whole other level of prep. But do you have like a mental space that you have to get in, or can you just sit down and go?
I just sit down and go. It's that whole under pressure thing. I literally have a post-it note on my monitor that's like, "Hey, remember to tweet." And I'm like, "Oh, right, I should do that before going live." But aside from that, I have like nothing. I literally just throw it up, and I'm like, "I'm gonna go make some tea. I'm gonna go put my makeup on. I'm just gonna go sit with my dog for a while." I don't have a method. I'm just like, we're just gonna click start and go from there and see what happens.
That's awesome. I more or less do the same. Like I have to caffeinate, or else I don't feel like I'm funny.
Mhm.
Like I just don't feel
I
like I'm
feel
like
that.
all there. So that's pretty much like my method. So I didn't know if you like do you like make sure they eat and hydrate beforehand, or is it really just like a winging it?
It is a winging it. If I'm hungry, I'll just eat while we're streaming. Like I don't. I'm at this point where I just don't care for certain things. Like some people are like, "Oh, I can't eat on stream." And I'm like, "Why? You're hungry. Like sustain
Yeah,
yourself. Your economy, like your in community should support you and wanting you to take care of
right,
yourself. Just
right.
eat."
Do the things you have to do to live and
Yeah.
live well.
Yes. That's why I also have um a hydrate redemption because sometimes I'll just talk for a long time and forget to drink water. And so my mods are like, hey, you need to drink water. I was like, right. I'm so sorry. Thank you. So I will go and get water if I don't have any, or I'll always have like a giant jug next to me. Like to, I just go with the flow with my stream. And the amount
What's
of troubleshooting I've done on stream,
is is
my
is
brand.
is there a specific like troubleshooting or tech thing that is like the most annoying thing that can happen?
Oh my God, audio every
Audio
time.
issues.
Because I can't hear my own audio like
Yeah.
most of the time. So when people are like, "Oh, you're really quiet," I'm like, "I don't know what that means." Because even if I turn on my stream, I'm like, "It sounds fine to me. I don't know what y'all are hearing." And I didn't
Yep.
change anything from yesterday, and yesterday was fine.
Yep. I rely we rely on you, chat, to let us know when stuff's wrong. So if you don't say something's wrong, we may not know it. But
Yep.
also, I learned recently that because I would go back sometimes, not every stream, but probably every other stream, I'll go back and I'll pull up and I'll sort of spot check random places in it and like listen. Okay, was the game loud here? How was I sounding? And then I learned that it is completely different when I put in headphones for uh Nami says to hydrate right now, everybody. That's a good
Done.
thing. Yeah. Was that a Monster Energy drink? Was that a Monster Zero?
No, this is actually Mountain Dew Rise.
Okay. Fancy. Um
M-
yeah, so headphones. I plugged in headphones and I went, "Oh, that sounds completely different coming out of the headphones than the speakers." So
mhm.
now I remember that I have to do both of those things as well. But yeah, audio sucks.
Audio's worst. Like everything else, I can kind of finagle my way around. Audio, there's it either works or it doesn't. There's no in between. There's no like, we'll just do it this way. It's like, no, I gotta work on this. Sorry, y'all.
Right. Oh man. So what games mean a lot to you? Like what game or franchise like sticks with you as meaningful either to you or your gaming career or
Um, Gosh, I think about this a lot. I actually had this discussion the other day with a bunch of friends because we were talking about tattoos, and we are like, "Oh yeah, what gaming tattoo would you get?" And Assassin's Creed and Gears of War are the two that I absolutely love. to pieces. Pokemon is another one for sure, and I already have a Pokemon tattoo, so that's the only reason it's not on that list. But like those three games, I feel have been the most like formidable in defining who I am and my interests because everything else can kind of relate back to those games. Oh, and I
Is
guess Stardew Valley.
it's I mean, is Stardew Valley the like, so like Assassin's Creed, Gears, those aren't, I mean, maybe they can be, but I don't know that I would call them like chill games. So
Not the way I play now.
right. So is the Assassin's Creed Infinite thing something that grabs you, like Assassin's Creed as a changing service as opposed to a singular title? Is this something that you're in for, or is this something you're hesitant with?
Hesitant with, but that's just for a multitude of reasons. Like, I love the Assassin's Creed franchise. I've played almost every game with the exception of Unity and um Odyssey. Yeah, I haven't touched Odyssey yet. I'm planning on doing it at some point this week, but I've just had such a love-hate relationship with the direction that Assassin's Creed has been going lately.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because as much as I love open world games, oh, Fallout and Skyrim are also just big, big games for me.
Right.
And I love open world games. I love being able to explore everything, and that's what I've always enjoyed about the Assassin's Creed series. But I hate the fact that they become somewhat of like an RPG model, where I have to grind to level up my character before I can move on to the next point of the story. And I'm like, can I just have a linear story? Just if I complete mission A, I can just go to mission B. There's no reason for me to take a moment and go do 5 side quests because I need to level up first before I can go to mission B. I hate it.
So I ended up really liking Origins and Odyssey. I haven't played Valhalla yet, but the thing that you're describing is exactly, and I really loved Odyssey, but I was, when I started it, I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm done with side quests in gaming for now. I'm not gonna do them anymore. I'm not gonna do side quests. I'm gonna go through the story, and then I'm gonna stop when it ends, unless it really, really. I love the combat. Something has really sucked me in. I'm not gonna do it, and it does that. It goes, you finish the story. Well, come back in a few levels,
hmm
and I got so mad.
Yeah, that was
I
me with
hate it.
Origins. Because I thought Origins as a whole, story wise, was one of my favorite stories. But playing that game was the most frustrating experience because, it took me like close to 50 hours to beat that game. And I was like, there's no reason a single player game should have taken me this long if I just wanted to do the story. Like, I know people who love doing side questing and doing all that stuff, and that's totally legit. Like, my husband, he played Yakuza 0, and he put nearly 100 hours in that game because he just enjoyed exploring. He's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, there's this bar over here. I need to check it out. Oh, there's this over here." I'm like, "That's fun." I
Right.
love when the side quest is optional and something that I can just enjoy in my leisure. But Origins was just like, "Oh, yeah, you went to this area and all these bad guys have skulls instead of level numbers to indicate that you'll just die." And I'm like, "Cool. I guess I didn't want to do the story. I'll go fetch somebody's camel for the next 20 minutes. It's great. That's what I wanted."
Right. Oh man, and the thing that I loved about the Assassin's Creed series was hiding in plain sight. Like, from the original one was that, like, that was like their tagline or something, like, for the original one. And I thought that was so, because I love stealth games, and having a stealth game where you aren't being stealthy in that I'm going from bush to bush or corner to corner, Solid Snake in the, rafters or in the air ducts or something. It really was just like blending into the crowd and like choosing an opportunity, and the
Yeah.
the murder puzzle genre is a genre that I really enjoy. And really, with 2, like with Brotherhood, no, 2 wasn't Brotherhood, just Assassin's Creed 2. Brotherhood was
Mhm.
after that. With Assassin's Creed 2, I understand why people love it, but it really just, like, it took the second, this is gonna sound silly to say, but the second game in a series of like 15 games, I feel like just sort of like stopped doing the thing that I loved about the first one to begin with.
And they did
But
that with every game. Every time they had a new game, it was something so different than the last. I was like, I don't. Where are you going?
Did you have any love for like the modern day, or were you happy when they mostly went, okay, you don't have to worry about like the modern day story anymore?
It's weird. So I liked the modern day in the first three games because there was a story and a purpose behind it. Like there was a reason that they were going back into the past and doing all these things. And I was like, that's actually really fascinating. But I thought they just executed it poorly, and they've only executed it poorly since because they just don't know what they're doing with it and they didn't know how to really make it interesting. Like, I thought the outside world, the modern day world was interesting, but I did not enjoy playing it nearly as much because it just was not as captivating as going back in time.
See, I thought to me like my investment was in like Desmond, like that
Mhm.
original storyline,
Yeah,
and
like
so
I
all the
love Desmond, but it got really weird by 3.
yeah, for sure. But with like the first game, like the sort of twist at like the end of the first game, spoiler
Yeah.
alert, is that I think if this is the twist at the end of the game, was the bleeding effect, where like he's going into the Animus and reliving stuff from the past, but also he gained some abilities by doing that. And so I thought,
Yes.
oh, okay, Assassin's Creed 3, or like at the time I played the first one, like, okay, Assassin's Creed 3 or 4 is going to be set completely modern day, and it's going to be the end of Desmond's journey and the end of the Assassin Templar War. And that never happened. Like, that never came to be.
Nope. Nope.
And so
No,
I've,
I totally agree. Because, like, Desmond's story was fascinating, and I thought he as a character was interesting and what they were trying to do. And the twist at the end of one, like, I was in love with both worlds in the first game. But then after that, it just got weird. And then they're like, oh, by the way, there's aliens. I was like,
yeah,
is this like Indiana Jones 4? I don't, what
right,
is
exactly.
happening?
And Dotus, I have the exact opposite opinion. I think Black Flag was the worst Assassin's Creed game, but I think it's an amazing game. It's just, to me, it's not what I wanted Assassin's Creed to be. It's just a great pirate game.
I love Black Flag. Like,
Yeah.
there's no amount of words that I can use to express how
Is that
much
your
I love Black
is it your
Flag.
favorite AC game?
Oh, absolutely not. Revelations was. I loved the Ezio trilogy as a whole, but I just loved watching the end of Ezio because out of all of the characters, Ezio is the only character that you were there from the moment he was born to the moment that he died. And there are very few games where I can say that and be like, I
That's
actually
true.
grew with this character.
That's
Like I
really
was there
so
all of
like
his life.
Brotherhood kind of lost me, but I agree Revelations was fantastic, but they also wove Altair into it as well,
Hmm.
like the protagonist from the first game. So that is really cool to be able to see that to a character. I never really thought about it that way. But also like it kept my attention by jumping around a bit, like
Yeah.
switching protagonists and stuff, because sometimes I get sort of bogged down and like, okay,
Oh, absolutely.
I didn't
I
really
can't
listen to
imagine.
this. I didn't really listen to the stuff about like the Borgia and like the political drama going on there, so I don't really know what's going
I
on.
can't
But
imagine playing 15 games of the same protagonist. Like
yeah,
there are very few that I guess have sort of done that, but even then I've been limited. Like Tomb Raider, I've played maybe like 3 games with the main protagonist. I just
would you consider
it's
Legend of Zelda 15 games with the same protagonist?
I
Or
have never played a Legend of Zelda game.
no kidding? Is that the
Um
is I imagine that's something that a lot of people would find unusual.
Oh, absolutely. So I grew up as a very poor kid. We had a limited number of games, and Legend of Zelda was not one of them because we just didn't have the money for it. Like pretty much every game we had was given to us, and so the only time that I really played a Legend of Zelda game was when I went to a friend's house and he had Ocarina of Time, and he
Hmm.
was like, "Oh yeah, do you want to give it a try?" I was like, "Sure," and I spent 1 hour just throwing and kicking chickens until they killed me. That is my experience with it.
You played Grand Theft Chicken for an hour.
Yeah, basically, until they killed me, and I was like, "Okay, I guess we're done."
That's fantastic. Do you remember the first game that you ever played?
Um, I have a feeling it's either one of the fighting games or it was Super Mario World 2. I can never keep track of which Super Mario is which, but one of them.
Right. What is your favorite type of stream and sort of coming at this from both to watch, like as a viewer, do you have like a favorite kind of stream to watch? And then what's your favorite kind of stream to do? Because you do so many different kinds of
I do
streams.
so many. I really need to like trim down my hobbies, man.
I have some questions related to that later.
My favorite type of stream to watch, I tend to watch a lot of just chatting streams. I enjoy sitting there and talking with the person who is chatting. Like I like knowing what's going on and getting to know the community, and that's usually the best way to do it. If I'm in a lurking mood, I watch just pretty much whoever is on my friends list that's live doing whatever it is they're doing, with the exception of games that I'm playing because I don't want spoilers.
Right.
So I don't like for lurking, it's literally anything. I will put anything on because I tend to be doing multiple things at once. But just chatting tends to be my favorite to hang out in.
Okay. And for you to perform, like the stream to do.
It's definitely something that's mixed as just chatting. So, like, I enjoy my baking and I enjoy doing my art because I can pause and talk with people as they come in. Or if we get into a conversation, then I can get into a conversation with them and we can do this whole thing. And it's not like, oh, I need to pause my game. It's like,
And
no, I'm doing things.
right. I have I'm very bad at reading chat, and and then especially if there's like something going on in the game at all. If there are moving colors in the game, then I like, and here's the thing, I'll go back and I'll reread chat to make sure I'm caught up, and I'll do that 10 times and not realize that 4 lines up somebody said something very important or
Yep.
addressed me and I totally missed.
Yep.
What's the most embarrassing thing that can happen to you on stream? Just like you don't have to get crazy with unless you want to, but like for me it's missing a follow. Like if I look up at my Streamlabs and I see like, oh, 15 minutes ago somebody followed and I didn't thank them, I am mortified.
Um, I don't think I have like very many embarrassing moments. I can't even really think of one because if I miss somebody's follow, I'll just call it out and be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I just realized you followed. Thank you so much," and then move
Mhm.
along. Um, I've never been one to be embarrassed. So I just accept things and move on. I'm like, this was out of my control. Here we go. Moving on. Going this way. Like I do a lot of troubleshooting stuff and people are like, oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing. I'm like, no, it doesn't bother me. Or I'll do a lot of baking streams and I'll bake something that I have never baked in my entire life before for the first time on stream. And I'll have friends that come in that like, oh, I could never, do something I've never done before in front of a bunch of people. And I was like, oh, that doesn't bother me. Like, if I make this and it just totally burns in the oven, that's whatever. We can just move along. Like,
Mhm.
I
I have
just,
I have that mentality with almost like anything that's related like to me. If
Mhm.
if I don't know, had like, just like if I did something or said something that was super embarrassing, I don't have like a whole lot of shame that like I carry around with me in
Mhm.
terms of that. But like in terms of other people, I very much like, oh my god, I hope that, and it's probably just a like, oh, I don't want them to hate me like reaction. But like, oh, you did a thing, and so I owe you a thing, and like I feel so bad. Like that's my where it comes from for me mostly.
No, I could totally see that because I guess now that I think about it, I haven't had this happen, but I've seen it in other people's streams, and I know that I would feel the same way. Is if I'm pulled into a co-stream with a group of people, and I don't know some of the people in that stream, there's the potential that those people could say something that could make my community feel uncomfortable, and I'm like,
Right.
oh my god, I'm so sorry. I can't control this person. I don't know who they are. This is really awkward. I don't know how to get out of it.
That is very much a why, and I learned very early on that like the people that I allow into voice chat, I have to spend what like a tremendous amount of time with
Yep.
and every now and then I step out of my comfort zone, and lately I've surrounded myself with enough people that I can trust that process a little bit more, but especially early on I was like, oh, I can't voice chat with anyone who's not in my very inner circle
Mhm.
because
Yep.
they may not have the same values that I have, and so on and so forth. You know what I mean?
Yep. Nope, I totally resonate with that.
Toxima, thank you for the raid. Welcome on in, everybody. We're talking with Chanzlyn today, a Twitch streamer, photographer, cosplayer. Speaking of cosplay, I wanted to show your most famousest cosplay ever. People who, by the way, like fans of like Warhammer and stuff, who have seen, like, I know people in my real life that have seen your cosplay that do not know who you are.
Oh, that's weird.
Admiral Morkborg, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. So this is your Warhammer 40K cosplay, and
Hey.
it is phenomenal. How long did this take?
So I actually worked with a group that kind essentially, so there's a group in the Midwest that is like Wolfgar's Weapons and Props, and they created the Space Wolf cosplay like literally a year prior, and that was my husband's like dream costume. He's like, we absolutely need to do this. I'm gonna go commission them to do it, and so the biggest reason we went to commission them is because these pieces are really huge and they
Right.
have a laser cutter. So they were able
That's
to laser cut the patterns out real fast. Like it took them a week, I think, to laser cut all of the patterns. And then my husband and I put them together and adjusted and added all of the accessories and all that good stuff. So like the chains, the teeth, the like certain color paintings and stuff were all done by me, but the actual suit itself was done by them because I do not have the time to make
of
something like that because I
it
don't
is,
have the tools for it either.
but it's like, this is like, you know, this is what we're saying, like, if, whether you commission something or go pick it up or however, it's like, it's all still, it's however you do it though, it's still like it to me, it seems like a very personal journey. Like
Hmm.
people who cosplay, who are really into cosplay, and it seems like they pour so much of themselves into it. So was this your favorite one to do, or is it just your most recognizable?
It's definitely my most recognizable, and it's one of my favorite ones purely because it was one of the few that my husband and I did together. Like he does not cosplay very often. He actually pretty much quit after that because we won Best in Show at Gen Con for the costume contest,
Oh,
and he's like,
congratulations.
he
I don't
has
think I
it
knew
like
that.
written
That's
on
awesome.
his he cracks me up about it because he'll have it written on like his biography on Twitter or something that's just like, I am a retired award-winning costumer, and I'm like, you okay.
Hey,
Like you're not wrong.
I look, I refer to our D&D show as an award nominated Dungeons and Dragons Twitch stream, and that's true. So I'm going to own that as long as it is classy,
There's
and then a little
oh,
longer
there's
after that.
no shame in it. It just he cracks me up because he almost never cosplays. And so
It's,
by the time he finally won one, he's just like, we're done. I'm an award-winning cosplayer. We're good.
it's
Like,
like
oh
it's
my
like
god.
it's like he played a ranked game of Overwatch. He fired one time, got a headshot, and was like, "Okay, retiring at
Yeah,
100% accuracy."
basically. That is exactly what the situation was. I was like, this kills me. I love it. I love it to pieces. It just cracks me up every time I talk to him.
That's so cool. Do you does cosplay have to be a cost intensive thing? Like, does it have to be financially draining, or are there ways to do it that aren't?
Um,
Like, if someone were going to be getting into cosplay, would you
yeah.
recommend that they, like, oh, you're going to need to save for it?
No, no, absolutely not. No, no,
Okay.
no. When I first started, like my first costume, I think I was freshman year of high school. I cosplayed as Sakura from Naruto. There are no pictures of this very unfortunate time in my life because that was a terrible costume. Like that was bad. That was terrible. Like I straightened my hair and had the terrible Party City pink hairspray that made your hair like hard and crunchy. Like, oh, it was bad. Super bad. But I had fun. Nobody really like when you go to convention, there aren't really going to be anybody that's judging you for how you do your costume. The only people that might look down on you are those snobby people, but that's with any hobby you do. Literally any hobby that gets big enough, that you're going to bump into those people. And so you just have to keep in mind for yourself that you're not there to impress them. You're not there for them. You're there for you and your friends. And if your friends are rooting you on, just listen to your friends. That's all that
Yeah,
matters.
snobs and gatekeepers, like, it just as much as you can possibly keep an attitude of like, well, fuck them. Like,
Yeah, exactly. But
yeah,
yeah, cosplaying does not have to be something that is expensive. It can definitely get expensive if you want to get really nitty gritty with the details and fine tune a lot of stuff. But in the past, I want to say 5 years, a lot of community or companies have come out with really quality costumes for such a reasonable price. Like, um, I don't know how to pronounce this costuming company. It's like Mick Costumes. It's MIC Costumes. They have their own store on Amazon, but they also have their own website. And their quality is astounding for how much you have to pay. I think I paid like $110 for a full Yennefer cosplay from Witcher 3, with the exception of the boots. Everything was already made. They had like brocade fabric, they had nice lining, they had like really quality stuff for $110. I had a full costume. Like I spent a little more so I can buy the boots and a new wig and gloves. But outside of that, like, for 110 bucks for a costume that I wore pretty much all day, felt good in, and a lot of people I got to hang out with recognized me. I was like, this is worth it.
That is
So
awesome.
yeah, it's worth it if you can find the right places, but
Do
you
you
definitely don't have to go into debt for it.
that's good. I think because I think that probably some people are probably thinking like, I would love to do it, but I can't afford it. Like you can, and even if you do like versions of something, right? Like just you can utilize what you have and just sort of build from there.
Hmm.
And you know if someone gives you crap for it, like they can fuck themselves.
Yep. Like streetwear is a very popular category. So people do like streetwear princesses, and it's literally just whatever they had in their closet that happens to match the aesthetics of whatever princess they're doing. Like someone will do Ariel, so they'll just wear a purple t-shirt and green leggings and then have a red wig, and everybody's like, "Yeah, that's Ariel." Like
Yeah,
you could see it from a mile away.
and I think that's terribly creative. I think that's really cool.
Hmm.
Do you have a favorite convention?
Gen Con and C2E2,
Which
because
what's
they're
C2E2?
C2E2 is the Chicago Comic Con X Entertainment and Expo,
Oh, cool.
and they usually are between March and May every year. Obviously, they canceled this year, but or last year, and then they moved it to the second week of December this year, which I
That's a
thought was really
tough
weird.
time for a con.
I know. I'm like, regardless of what has happening, panini wise in this economy, the fact
Uh-huh.
that they decided to put it like right after Thanksgiving, but right before Christmas, I was like, a lot of people are already traveling. I can't imagine spending time for a convention in between all of that.
And isn't early December Chicago like cold as fuck?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Super cold. I mean, it's a windy city. It's already.
So who inspires you? A streamer or anyone else in the things that you do?
um, it's so weird because like anybody that's in my close community or that's my friend inspires me in some aspect. Like, my friend Vanna, she's just an incredibly delightful human being, and watching her kind of cultivate her community around the stuff that she loves and focusing more on herself, I find inspiring. Or like with you, I also find it just very inspiring how you have these specific segments and you focus on specific things that bring you joy, but also you want to focus your community around. Like your Star Wars segments, I think are super fun and you are all about it. And it brings me a joy when people have that passion.
You don't have to say me. Like that's not a part of
No,
the
I'm
obligation,
no.
regardless of what Rain says. That's
If you aren't subscribed to this channel, what's wrong with
Jesus.
you?
I ask that. I do ask that question, Matt. I do ask that question to everyone, and I've made the joke before, like, "Oh, you didn't say me. Okay, moving on." But like for real, I want to know because like, to
No.
me like a lot of the people that I enjoy on Twitch or the friends that I've made on Twitch or the people that I respect on Twitch, if they themselves have someone that they look up to and respect, then chances are I'm gonna love that content too.
Right. And I didn't even see what Rain had posted regarding you, if I'm being honest. Like I was trying to get to the point of all of the people that I surround myself with inspire me in various aspects. A thing that I've been holding on to for the last few years now is I try not to put anybody on a pedestal, because at the end of the day, every single person is a human. Every
Mhm.
single person is flawed. And to put them on a pedestal is only going to lead you into potential like disappointment or heartache or something of those lines. Like the
Right.
amount of people and friends I've seen fall apart over the last few years and the various things that I've done because they held them on a pedestal is heartbreaking. And so
Right.
for me, I rather just find things with the people that I choose to surround myself to be like, you know what? I like that about them. That inspires me. And this is what I want to do. And that's why I pointed you out because I liked the way you have your specific segments. It kind of helped me figure out that, you know what? That's what I want to do with my community, with my like Twitch and everything is have specific things going on so that way it kind of continues like a continuity and consistency that I know other people crave, but at the same time is something that I enjoy and is manageable for me. So,
I appreciate you saying that. By the way, I mentioned earlier that you inspire me, and that I wasn't just saying that. Like, I consider you. This is going to sound like a very weird thing to say, I think, but I consider you like one of the few grown-ups on Twitch, like someone who it seemed like you like have it all together. Like you very much know who you are. You very much know what you stand for. You very much cut out bullshit like when it pops up. Like I've seen you in your stream point out and correct uh even friends of yours. Like just, hey, we don't talk like that here. Hey, we're not going to do that. Like little like things that I'm like, "Oh, I've that's a great way to handle that." Like I have learned a lot from you specifically, just for the record.
oh, thank you. My heart.
We are all children on Twitch. This is Raven One. Um so uh you have, how many pets do you have?
Just the one that's probably the equivalent of like 7 cats.
Okay, and I want to introduce everybody to your pet. Do you want to do you want to talk a little
My
bit about her?
sweet baby. This is my sweet, sweet Mercy. She is a fully bred St. Bernard. She's roughly 140 pounds, and she is actually considered small for a St. Bernard.
Oh
And
my god.
so, yeah, we take her to the a daycare like once a week or so, and there are a few other St. Bernards there, and they tower over her by a good like 6 inches or so. Like she is a small St. Bernard. Oh,
Wow.
she's right behind me on her bed. Whoops,
Oh,
wrong.
hello, Mercy.
She's a sleepy girl.
How old
But
is Mercy?
she will be 6 at the end of August.
Okay.
Yeah. I took her to the vet recently and they asked me what her age was. I was like, oh, she'll be 6 at the end of August. And like, oh, wow, we would have guessed she was like 3 maybe or 4 because we just take really good care of her. I guess the thing that's common with a lot of people who have giant breeds is you have to be very cautious of their weight. And so I am very strict on it. I feed her only like certain amounts, I give her only a certain amount of treats, all that stuff. Whereas people who are like, oh, they're giant, they're supposed to be big. And so they just keep feeding them. And I'm like, that's not good. Like, compared to humans, like humans have adapted to have such a wide range of size. Like, you can be on one end of the other and still be fine operating normal, whereas dogs are still like, as much as we've domesticated them, they still have a very specific structure to how they operate. And with giant breeds, like they can get arthritis and joint pains really fast because of their weight distribution. And so I'm just like, I am going to stick to this regimen. She will not get big.
So Mercy is half her age. She's the Paul Rudd of Saint Bernards. She just
That's what the
doesn't
vet
seem to
said.
age.
That's what the vet said. And I was like, I'm here for it. I'm
That's
happy
awesome.
with it.
Would you ever add to your doggo family, or is
Oh
Mercy
yeah,
the
I'm trying to
most?
convince. It's the partner that needs convincing.
Okay. Okay. Well, so like I had so when I met, we had a bunch of pets growing up in my house. We had a bunch of cats, a couple dogs, and then 1,000 other things. It was sort of like a mini farm in the middle of the city. And when I left, when I graduated from high school and went to college, I was like, okay, I'm not doing that anymore. I don't want to be responsible for other things that aren't named Steve-O. And when
So you
I'm
name all of your dogs Steve-O.
yeah, that'd be one way around it. Uh, and so when I met my wife, she had one dog, and a few months into dating, she got a second one, and I thought that was going to stress me out, but the two dogs ended up playing together, and so it was less attention that needed to be given than when we just had the one dog, and so Nerdez wanted to get a third dog. She very much was like, I feel like this would, this completes the family. And I thought to myself that the size of the dog is what was stressing me out, like the square footage of life form in the house. I thought it would be directly proportional, that like the larger the dog in the house, the more stressed out I would be, and therefore the smaller the dog in the house, the less stressed out I would be. So we got Sushi, who's a little Chihuahua, and I
Oh,
love him with
Chihuahuas
all
are
my heart.
high energy.
But it is definitely a bell curve. The smaller they are, the more stressed they are, and then the larger they are, the more stressed they are.
They are little balls of stress.
Yes, he is the most entitled little shit I've ever met in my life. I was trying to learn whines the other day, and he sometimes whines when he wants to go out, and it was like 2 a.m, and he whined, and his food was there, his water was there. He didn't want to go outside, and so I thought, okay, I'm gonna run to the restroom real quick, and then I'll figure this out. I go to the bathroom, and when I came back, he had jumped up in my spot in bed and gone to sleep, and I realized his whine was that he wanted me to fuck off. And it's just, what
Delightful.
a little shit. So anyway, switching gears, the million things that you do photography. Do you still actively do photography, and is it primarily cosplay photography? I know you photo your food as well.
So much photoing because I don't have that many subjects in front of me. So my food and Mercy are mainly it right now. I did get to do headshots for my friend before she moved to Colorado, and so it was really nice to bring out the camera and actually get back into it. But just because of what's been going on with the world and this economy,
Mm-hmm.
I've been mostly focused on taking photos of my dice, my dog, and my food. So,
And
but
you also
prior
make.
to that, I take pictures of people in various situations. I focused on cosplay for a while. Like I love cosplay, and even though I was taking a step back in cosplaying, I wanted to still go to conventions, and so taking cosplay photos of my friends became a huge highlight for me
Mm-hmm.
because that can be a struggle for a lot of cosplayers is finding a photographer who can actually make you look decent in a photo and who is also not going to be a gatekeeper of who they photograph. So I was just
Right.
like, great,
Or a
great.
sleaze bag.
Right. And so I wanted to provide that, especially from being like a femi presenting person. I wanted to kind of utilize that because a lot of photographers tend to be male, and that makes, unfortunately, a lot of women uncomfortable within the cosplay community, just given
Right.
past things that have happened. And
Yep.
so being able to be that presence kind of helps people feel a lot more relaxed and kind of expand from there. Um, since then, I've grown to include a few different types of sessions. I did an engagement session for a friend. I did a maternity photo shoot for another friend. And my favorite session that I'm actually going to be talking to my vet about is what I've learned is called bliss sessions. And it's when you're about to put one of your pets down that you go and take one final photo shoot with them. So you have these like really loving final photos with them.
Oh my
And
God, that's got to be
I
hard though.
oh, it's so, so hard. It's incredibly hard. And I don't actually charge for those. Those are 100% free. And if they do donate, I just donate it to a shelter or tell them to donate to a shelter.
Yeah.
And that's something that I want to offer to my vet office because a lot of people don't realize like they like to live in the moment. They're big about living the moment. And I'm like, that's totally fine. It's totally fair. But when it comes to photos, like photos are forever. And I think photos with your pet is a huge thing to have because a lot of people don't think about doing photos with just your pet as you have them alive. So then towards the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day, they look back at their pictures and it's like, here's just, sad photos of my dog on its last days. And I'm like, that's that's heartbreaking that that's your last memory of something that was such a big part of your life. And
Right.
so I try to bring that to other people now is like, let me make your last memories with your pet like
And
something that,
beautiful.
yeah. And I will go and get like one of the photos that I really like printed on a canvas and send it to them so they can have it like hanging on their wall. And so I've done that a couple of times now. Heartbreaking, but truly some of the best photos I've ever taken.
That I think that it the parallel I'm going to draw here, I hope isn't too wonky, but to me that feels like that takes a specific kind of personality to be able to feel the beauty in that, and not just be, I'm sure that it is draining, but not to be just completely drained by it. The same way that I think of caretakers for people that are in hospice and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Like that's to me would absolutely drain me from head to toe, and would be very, very difficult. But some people who I know it is also difficult for can like take comfort in what they're doing and how they're helping. And so does that make sense at all? Does
Yeah.
that parallel make sense at all?
Yeah, no, I totally get that.
Okay.
And I don't know if I could ever do hospice because that would totally be draining. But doing these sessions, it's such a small amount of time that is perfectly good for me. Like that is my boundary, that's my limit. But it's also it's a very it's a happy and sad situation because I know they're going to love these photos. I know it's going to bring them joy for like years to come, and I know
Right.
it's going to be a good thing that this is one of the moments that they're going to be able to remember. But on the other side of it, it's, it's it's a sad time.
Yeah,
So,
completely understandably.
yeah.
Shifting gears a little bit, we're gonna move to the next hobby, is dice making. And that is this the most recent a hobby that you've taken on in
Uh
the things that you do?
yes. So I started it in October 2019. And
Okay.
so I've been doing it will be for 2 years this October.
What was the impetus for that? Were you like playing TTRPGs and being like, you know what, these just aren't me?
Sort of. So I have been playing tabletop games for over 15 years or so now. Like I've been playing it since high school and it's been a big passion of mine. And through that, I find, especially with a lot of my friends, is that you become a dice goblin. And so you just start collecting all of the dice. You're like, I need all of the shiny math rocks, give them to me. Thank you. And I have a friend who obsessively buys them. He has like an Excel sheet where he tracks like what manufacturer he bought them from, what month and year he bought these dice, and he has like storage compartments. Yeah, it's intense. He has like close to 1,000 different sets. And um, I kind of started becoming a dice goblin. I was like, okay, I'm gonna buy this set. I'm gonna buy this set. Or if there was like a Kickstarter, I would kickstart it for one of every single set they have. I was just like, oh, I need these. But as I looked at them, I was like, why am I doing this? Why am I buying these? So then I started to become what they call like a dice dragon, where
Huh?
you're very specific to the kind of dice you buy. Or sorry, no, that's dice elf. Dice dragons, you buy like really expensive dice, but you don't really care what they look like. It's just because they're fancy and
Yeah,
yeah. And
it's a
so
status symbol.
yeah, basically. Whereas dice elves are very particular, and that's when I started to become more of that, where I'm like, oh, I'm only buying this specific set because I want these specific things in it. And so I sold a good chunk of my dice set. And then I was like, I still have way too many dice. So I started to sell more of my dice sets, especially because I came deeply involved with the general dice community. I found because I've been playing tabletop games for so long that some of the sets I bought 15 plus years ago were actually worth like $300 or $400. And I was like, why?
Oh, okay.
I don't. So I was like, I'm just gonna sell these. They don't mean anything to me. And so I was like,
Right.
off into the wild you go. Thank you. And so from there, I started seeing people post their handmade dice, and I was like, whoa, those look cool. And as someone who is artistic, I really enjoy the idea of being able to explore what could go into dice. And so I decided to just jump right in and start making dice. I did it as cheaply as possible because I'm hesitant of jumping into any hobby. So I'm like, how cheap can I do this to test if I like it before I
Yeah.
invest into it? And so I bought like the bare minimum, the first dye I made, only half of it cured, the other half stayed liquid. I was like, this is terrible, but I love it. And then I invested from there and just kind of kept picking up with it.
Master Charles asks, when can he buy dice? Do you take commissions? Do you have a store?
I do take commissions. Someday I'll have a store. So this is that whole I don't have a deadline, so someday I'll do it maybe.
Right.
But usually people reach out to me and I kind of just go from there with commissions. Every once in a while I'll post a dice set and someone will message me. They're like, "Hey, is that set for sale?" And I was like, "It is now."
Sure.
So
So yes, if you guys would like to order a dice set from Chance, hit up Chance. What's the best way for someone to send you a message if they do want to commission?
you could probably. So I had to turn off my direct messaging on Twitter, but you can send me email at just chanzlyn@gmail.com. That email address is also on my Twitter. So Mercy.
I'm Mercy Girl.
uh,
Okay, so yes, that is the
that
email
is the
address.
address. Yes.
Um, I
Just
I
title
totally
it like Dice Commission.
I've been playing. I mean, I've played tabletop RPGs for a couple years, but I've been in a consistent D&D in my first campaign because I usually did like one shots or like short arcs, and in my just had our anniversary of the campaign that we're in now, and I have a dice tray and I have I have two full sets of dice in it, and that's it. And I haven't felt super compelled to like do the gathering, the dice gathering thing. But
Yeah, I have a few friends like that.
I do get it though, because like one of the things that I used to do more often and hope to get into again is we used to play poker with fair regularity, and I became a little bit of a snob when it came to like the cards and the chips. Like, I don't want aluminum core or metal core chips. It's got to be clay. It's going to be heavier, and like the cards have to be like, air cushioned or something like that. Like there's a specific, okay, no, I don't want to play with these. Like kind of feel that I have now. So I totally get it. Do you have like a specific type of dice that like really like especially is like, I know that you make yours are resin, right?
Yeah.
Is there like metal dice, wood dice? Like if you were like what's the best of the best kind of dice?
Best kind of dice is the dice that you love. Like, I'm not gonna gatekeep on dice ever.
No, yeah, like for you, like if you were like, oh, that's like the coolest one.
um, I just go for what's shiny. I'm like a crow.
If it's pretty, you'll
Pretty
snag it.
much, because I have all kinds of different dice sets, and they're all very random. Like some are acrylic, some are resin, some are gemstone, some are metal. It depends on what my mood is. I have recently become one of the people where I will build a palette around what my character is. And so, um, if I have a ranger and her clothing style tends to be like forest greens and browns, then I will start collecting dice that have like greens and browns and kind of mix them together along with like hints of black or hints of gold to emulate some of her weapons. So it just I build it based on character at this
That's
point.
awesome. No, that makes perfect sense. And is that something that like you could do that you could do through commission? Like, would you be able to create something given a color palette or like a concept or something like that?
Oh yeah, I'm actually a current commission set I'm doing is for a group, and they kind of gave me free reign. They're like, you can decide if you want to do individual for everybody or the same set for everyone. And so I ended up creating a set that emulates the entire group, but each die is going to be, or each set is going to be inked in a specific color to represent each person.
Oh,
So
that's
at
so
the
cool.
core of the die, they're all connected, but at the inking stage, they're individual die.
So, in terms of all of the things that you do, this is sort of a two-pronged question. Baker, streamer, photographer, cosplay, dice maker, and more. Um, how do you balance all these things? And do you have a favorite? Like, if you were forced to focus on a single one, could you do that?
Um,
Softy, you're already famous in our hearts.
I think so. Balance wise, it comes down to me writing down a schedule because, as I've stated, I work very much on I need to have a deadline. So I kind of try to make artificial deadlines for me to follow through. It also just depends on what is going on. So if it's convention season, I'm going to focus on my photography.
Right.
If it's like I need to bake something for someone, I'll focus on baking. And other than that, it just comes down to my schedule because I don't make dice to make a profit. I have no interest in using my dice as a business to be like, this is my future. I'm going to make dice and sustain myself with making dice. It's like, no, I am too critical of my dice. I want it to be the best possible thing that I can make it to be. And so I'm going to focus all of my time and energy into this one set. And so when people commission me, I take a long time to do it because I want them to have the best product. I do not want to do like some half ass dice. And so in return, that's not something that I can sustain myself on. Like
Right.
4 die sets I have to make in like a month and a half. I was like, it's taken me a bit of time because I want these to be good. I want you guys to love these.
So you have
Uh,
like a weekly schedule that you do to sort of schedule out the things you want to do, but also you have like seasons
right.
where like photography and cosplay is going to be like sort of this season or this moment in the calendar, and then you'll ebb into something else.
Yeah, pretty
Do you,
much.
are you busy all the time? Is every waking moment of Chan's life accounted for?
Sometimes.
Do you like it? Do you like it that way?
I do and I don't. I like having days that are flexible because I like to just do nothing sometimes, but I hate having days where I do nothing entirely for so long because I just need to remain active. So, like for instance, I'm on vacation this week from work, but I made a list of things I want to accomplish every single day and just so I have things to do.
That doesn't sound like vacation.
Well, it's a very loose schedule. Like if I don't complete it, it's fine. I just move it to the next day. But it's not like I need to have this done by 3 o'clock today. It's more like, okay, this day I should work on my dice. How long? It's however long I feel. If I work on it for 10 minutes, if I work on it for 10 hours, it's great. It's whatever I feel that day. It's
Right.
just, I need to just have something noted for me to do that day for even just a small amount of time because otherwise my brain is just like it goes into that like deer in a headlights freeze of there's so much to do. I'm gonna do nothing. I'm just
Yep.
gonna sit here and stare at the TV for the next 10 hours. It's fine.
I know that very well. And it's sort of a streamer, like people make fun of streamers all the time for doing this, but this is definitely a thing that I'm guilty of is like, I'll tell, I'll tell my wife, I'm like, I'm going to take the next week off of work. And she's like, that sounds great. So you're going to like relax and like not stream. And I'm like, oh no, I'm going to stream twice as much and work on all this stuff on stream that I hadn't done when I was work. And so it's like, okay, so so what do you do to shut off? Can is this something that do you know what makes you zen or meditative, or does that make sense?
um Honestly, it comes down to scheduling things, like scheduling my time off and focusing on stuff. I kind of did the same thing as you, where if I take a week off from work, I just kind of double down on streaming. I focus on working on streaming stuff. If I'm not streaming, like it's still work.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason I haven't streamed this week is because a couple of my mods messaged me and was like, "Hey, this might feel like we're overstepping boundaries, but we're worried and concerned for you. Take this week off because you're on vacation. Do not stream. Absolutely not." And I was like, y'all are right. I really need to take a break. You're right. You're
Those
right.
are some good ass mods.
I try, I just, because I just push myself beyond my limits sometimes. And I deeply appreciate them for watching out for me and being aware of what it is I'm doing because, you know, it's one thing for me to feel like I'm fine, but they're the ones who are actively watching me stream, and they're like, "No, no, no, you need to sleep." I'm like, "Okay, I will go do that."
Is does self-care take a back seat then to the like activity?
Sometimes I've become better about it in the last, I want to say 6 months or so, where I've just doubled down on, you know what, I need to prioritize my health. I need to prioritize how I'm feeling, and I do not feel good right now. And when it comes to streaming, I strongly believe in quality over quantity, and so that's why I stream at most twice a week. If I do more than that, it's because I'm guesting on someone else's stream, which is fine. But I rather give you the absolute best I can do in the 2 days I choose to stream versus having like feeling like shit for 4 days. Like nobody wants to watch me 4 days in a row feeling shitty and complaining. It's like, no. I rather give you 2 days where I'm like, yeah, I'm at my best, and then I can take a break for however long until the next stream and we're good.
So what do you do to shut off then?
Um I tend to focus on things that I just want to catch up on. So, one of the big things with streaming that I learned is there are games that I love to play, but I hate playing them on stream. And so I have a lot of off-stream games like Cozy Grove has become an obsession of mine. I play that game for like 2 hours before I go to bed, and it just gets me into a very calming, relaxing mood. Or I have a stack of comic books at the side of my bed that I'm like, all right, I'm just going to spend the next couple of hours reading until I have to go to bed. um, I kind of try to just focus on things that take me away from my computer, because between my job and streaming, I'm at my computer so much that I'm like, okay, I need to get away. I need to get out of this room. I need to separate myself. And so I try to keep things essentially compartmentalized in my home. So like streaming stuff is only ever in my office. I do not take it to the living room. I do not like pull out my laptop over there and work on things. It's like, no, it is this room and this room alone. So that way the other rooms have different energy.
That makes sense. And do you work from home as well?
I do.
So is that a similar thing where you keep work in a very specific place?
I just keep it out of the bedroom.
Okay.
Because I'll move my laptop between my living room, my dining room, and my office, depending on how I'm feeling that day for work. But I try to keep it out of the bedroom so that way my room doesn't feel like work.
That makes sense. That makes perfect sense. Do you have any hobbies that I haven't listed, or like a hidden talent or something that you haven't had time to explore, would like to get into that you haven't yet?
Um, Drawing has always been a passion of mine, and I've been like working on it on the side. I haven't really posted anything about it because I just don't know what exactly it is I want from it. So that's been a journey in and of itself, discovering like, it's one thing to be like, oh, I really love how people draw people and characters for D&D, but I'm starting to realize that I'm probably not one of those people who can do character art, but I'm finding comfort in drawing like everyday objects. So there's people who draw just like, here's a potion bottle, or this is what I imagine that this like particular item in this game would look like. And so drawing those kind of things have been a lot of fun for me, and I'm hoping to get to a point where I can be a little more consistent and start creating items for various games.
Oh, that's really cool. I like you seem to be able to pinpoint like the things that you does it take long for you to figure out like within a hobby like the specific thing that you really want to focus on, or does that take time?
It varies. Like with dice making, that one was pretty instant. I was like, I know exactly what I want to do with my dice. I know what the font I want it to look like, customize my logo for it, all that stuff. Whereas this drawing, I've been drawing since like kindergarten, and it wasn't until the last like year and a half or so that I'm like, I'm not good at character art. That's not for me. I've been trying for 15 years. I think it's time to move on.
Have you mentioned a little bit ago that you've been playing like tabletop games for a really long time, and do you have a favorite, like a favorite type, or a favorite, be it board game or RPG or?
Um, Board games is hard to choose because I have a lot of board games, like way too many. As for tabletop, um, so Pathfinder has been my main system that I've been playing for at least 10 years now. And I actually was trying to figure out why it was that I started playing Pathfinder over D&D because I started with D&D 3.5.
Mhm.
And the biggest reason I switched is because Pathfinder is accessible. It is a free system for the most part. They have a website that's open sourced. You can go there and find everything and anything you need for your characters. You can create your entire homebrew campaign just based on the information you find on their website. Whereas D&D, you need to buy their books. You need to
Right.
buy all of that stuff. And even with through D&D Beyond, like their books are still very expensive. And so for the longest time, we're like, we're just going to do Pathfinder because everything's online for free and it works out that way.
Right.
So since then, I've played D&D 5 and I've also played Pathfinder 2. And I love Pathfinder 2 over D&D 5e. I don't hate D&D 5e, and I see that it's a great system compared to, like, especially from where it came from with 3.5. Like, the amount of stuff that they have condensed down has been great.
Mhm.
But Pathfinder 2e just has a better feel for me, and a lot of it makes more sense to me than it does with D&D. And so I just click with Pathfinder better. But all that is to say, I've become more of a theater of the mind person.
Mhm.
So I enjoy doing like stream tabletop sessions with friends because a lot of it is just us kind of talking versus like, here's a physical map, move your character. I don't mind that stuff. It's just I don't want it to be the main point of the game that I'm playing. And so I started playing a lot of Power by the Apocalypse Systems games. And City of the Mist has been one of my favorites, and I'm hoping to start doing a Monster of the Week because I have an ever loving heart for cryptids, folklore, and monstery things. But their systems, have you ever played any of the Power by the Apocalypse games?
I have not.
Incredible systems because of how simple they are. A lot of them are designed to be able to read the rules, set up the game, and start going within an hour. Like they are quick systems. You literally need only 2d6, and that's it. Everything else is kind of just a narrative gameplay. And so, City of the Mist, I think, has been so fun because the premise of the game is that you, a character, are in like you share your body with the power of a god. And so in my game, I can't remember which god specifically I share mine with, but it's like a water god. And so I have the ability to like walk through small cracks in the wall because there's water and it just seeps right through. Or I can go from one pond to another because they are connected through this tiny stream. Like pretty much anything and everything relating to water, I can kind of figure out a way to narratively do something. And how a lot of the PBTA games go is you have scenes. So one scene happens, you have a list of things you can do, and you only get to do one thing per scene unless you have a special ability that lets you do more. And then you just roll your 2d6. If it's 5 or less, you fail. If it's 6 through 9, it's a partial success. So you did it, but something kind of might have happened. And
Mhm.
then 10 plus, you succeed entirely. So it could be like, oh, I want to sneak into this building. On a partial success, it'd be like, okay, well, you were able to sneak in and get through the crack in the door, but you didn't realize that there was a soda bottle sitting on top of the table right next to you. So when you poofed in, you hit the bottle, it landed, and it made a noise. So now somebody down the hall heard you. What do you do next?
Right.
So it it allows just that flexibility, but that's it for the scene. Like you kind of quickly react, and then it moves on to the next person, and then they cut to the next scene after that. So
Interesting.
it's very minimal setup, very minimal things you need to do. You just have to remember like what your character abilities are, which they have listed in front of you, and you just move on from there. And I'm like, I love that. There's no number crunching. There's no, I don't remember what I have to add to this. Oh, I have to do an investigation check. I don't remember like where my scores are, which die do I use. It's literally like, oh, your character is a detective, so you just have a +3 in investigation. So roll your
Right.
2d6, add +3,
I can appreciate that for sure. Master Charles wants to know about Pathfinder. Does Pathfinder have a monster manual, or are you supposed to make your own monsters?
They do have their own monster manual. They have several monster manuals, so you can pick up quite a few of them. But There are a good chunk on the Pathfinder website that are freely available for you to kind of go from.
Um, just to touch on the theater of the mind thing, one of the things that in our campaign that we shifted was we had been using a virtual map just for combat, um, and we found that we started doing theater of the mind combat, and we just liked it so much more because it allows you just like that little bit more flexibility, but also it moves at a quicker pace, like because you're
Mhm.
not really studying anything, you're
Yeah.
just reacting in the moment, and it may not, if you are like a tactician and that is the point of, if you that's what you love about combat, you may not like that, and that's fine, but for us, because it's more about the narrative, like combat is sort of the exciting moments of the narrative, but if we just say what you're going to do, I'll give our DM will explain like how close am I, can it, and just it's sort of just going off of that, to me, I feel like is much more fluid,
Yeah.
and I feel like I'm more invested, as opposed to if I'm looking at a map, I'm probably not listening to what everybody else is doing, so I'm probably thinking about what I'm going to do next and planning, like, okay, if I go here and do this and so on and so forth. So that sounds
Yep.
awesome.
I completely feel that.
Do you have a
It's
favorite? Oh, go ahead.
no, 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 go ahead.
Do you have a favorite RPG character that you've made, like in your TTRPG history? Do you have one that stands out as like, man, I really love them?
Oh yeah, my current character in my Pathfinder game, his name is Zizix because I had to go for the word Zizix. It's just such a fun word to say. And he is a Leshy bard that plays a kazoo. And well, he has a kazoo and a ukulele, but I've played him in like 3 or 4 games now because I just adore him so much. So I have him leveled up in various different games for different things. I'm like, I don't remember which one I'm supposed to use for this game. Hold on, let me look through my sheets. But
His name is Sizzix.
Zizix, yeah,
Oh, Zizix.
ZZYZX.
ZZYZ. Okay. I was gonna poke at Sizz when you said that, but
Close, but
okay.
no. It's a road in California it's like Zizix Road, and there's like exactly one movie about this road. It's a whole thing that I found out, and I was like, I just love how it's spelled. It's great. So,
That's super interesting. Chat, I
um,
want you guys to prep some questions that you may have for Chans. I don't have to tell you to remain respectful. You guys are. I know that's not going to be a problem. If it is, you'll get yeeted. I'm gonna sort of do sort of like a quick sort of lightning round, and you don't have to answer one word answers, but answers you see fit. But I'll sort of flip through some things here as we get into like the last little portion of stream here. Do you play a musical instrument?
absolutely not.
We found something that you don't do. Okay, that's I'm gonna find something that. Okay, so never at any point can you sing
Um, no, oh
karaoke?
God, no. I don't know if I'm being honest on that one
Okay.
because I remember being in the 4th grade and I was trying out for the choir, and the teacher who was auditioning us told me that I was a terrible singer. And so I'm like, that's really good to tell a 4th grader. Thank you. And I tried to learn guitar at one point. I didn't really like it all that much, so I never went back to it. And
Okay.
then I did end up in choir later in high school, and they're like, "Yeah, you have a great voice." I was like, "I have no idea anymore where I'm at in this life." So questionable.
Do you have a favorite musician, band, singer, musical artist?
um, I just have like a very general theme. I just like songs that I can vibe to. Um, actually, now that I think about it, a song that I'm currently obsessed with is "Like You Do" by Vin Diesel.
By Vin Diesel?
Vin Diesel put out 2 songs last year in the pandemic. I guess he was working with a DJ. I can't remember his name. He's a famous like Swiss DJ. They just got together and put 2 songs out, and it's such good music. Like you just vibe to it the whole time. It's great.
I did not know that existed. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's quite incredible, honestly.
Uh, Name a restaurant that you'll never eat at. Like, is there a restaurant that, like, if you and your friends were like, let's go eat somewhere, and they named something that you would go, No.
Waffle House.
Really, Waffle House? Why is that? Is it because of like the dirt, the poor service, the cramped spaces, or is it a different reason?
Food's just not good.
Oh.
I don't judge a building in and of itself at times because there's a Greek place I love to go to. And when you go in, it is greasy and disgusting, and the chairs are like the really cheap China buffet chairs that you can buy in bulk. Like
Mhm.
it is not a pretty place at all. The man working behind the counter wears like the white tank top that's also covered in grease. It's disgusting, but it's some of the best food I've ever had.
Right. Like the unlit cigarette in his mouth, and you're like, this
Yeah,
place is gonna be fucking great.
yeah, exactly. I go to like I only choose my places based on food. I don't actually care about the building itself.
Right, right. But Waffle House is no go on the food then for you.
Waffles is every time like the last two times that I've gone, which was years ago, I got sick like right afterwards, so I just do not chance it anymore.
That has an effect on people if you eat at a place that makes you sick. Uh, let's say you win $1 million. What do you do?
um I'm gonna immediately pay off my loans and then I put it into a bank account that I can use the interest. Like I've calculated $1 million is not enough for anybody to be able to quit their job and do whatever it is they want. You need a minimum of $10 million that you can survive off of just the interest alone. Anything beyond that is excessive.
I said you were the grown up here on Twitch, and that was a very grown up answer.
I had to think about it because I've seen people who are like, I won $1 million. I quit my job. I'm like, you're not going to be able to live on just $1 million. Not in this economy.
Oh my gosh. If you could travel anywhere, where would you go?
New Zealand, it is the adventure capital of the world. You want to be able to skydive, hike, surf, all of that. New Zealand is the place to be.
That is it. It's beautiful in pictures, and they shot Lord of the Rings there. So I'm gonna go see the
That too.
place that Viggo Mortensen broke his toe.
I have debated on doing the walk to Mordor. It's like a 200-mile hike that's over the course of like 5 days or something.
that's that's too much.
Yeah, I would quit probably after 5 miles, if I'm being honest. I don't
That's-
like walking.
but those 5 miles will be really cool.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll see if they have like a car to Mordor.
Is there an Uber, Mordor, Lyft?
Even a Vespa would be cool.
Yeah. What's a gamer movie that you think is underrated, or something,
Uh,
or a gamer movie that someone like rags on, and you're like, actually, it was really good.
uh, it's supposed to be a lightning round, and I can't think of anything. I mean, I didn't hate the Assassin's Creed movie, I guess. I have no, I
I
have
liked
strong feelings.
I like the ending of it. I thought the ending of it was really cool.
I don't. I liked a lot of it. I had questions about a lot of it. I
Is there like
don't.
a specific piece of media that you feel obligated to stick up for?
Um, that Speed Racer movie that came out that a lot of people like to shit on because that movie's incredible.
The Wachowski siblings Speed Racer.
Yeah.
Oh, that
God,
movie's
that movie.
fantastic.
Beautiful.
Go watch.
Yes.
I second that. Go watch Speed Racer, y'all, if you haven't, in 4K if you can, but on Blu-ray if you
It's
can't. It's
amazing.
it's super good. What's your favorite dessert?
Whatever's in front of me.
Like on the cake pie spectrum, or is it just literally whatever, just anything?
It's really weird. So I'm very, very, very particular about my cake. I don't really like cake, but there are some cakes that I've loved.
Okay.
And then same goes for pie. There are very few pies that I've enjoyed. I've started to find a love for pies because I've been making them, but it's taken me a while. I'm definitely more of like a pastry person. So you can give me like cannolis or puff pastry, eclairs, any of that stuff. I'm just like, this is just so much more fun. There's layers to it.
What did you want to be when you grew up? When you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I had exactly three things that I went through phases of. The first one was I wanted to be the owner of the Jelly Belly factory. I
That's very
love
specific.
jelly beans. Yeah. No, that was my dream. I was like, I'm gonna own Jelly Bellies. Just you wait. Then I decided I wanted to be a fashion designer. I really loved clothes. I loved drawing them on people. And then I decided I wanted to join the SWAT team.
Wow, those are three wildly different things.
Yeah, I really can't. This brings me back to when I was talking about Spawn, and Master Charles like questioned me because I said I had watched it when I was 6 years old, and he was like, You watched Spawn when you were 6?" I was like, "Yeah, don't ask me questions."
Oh, that's good. So a couple of questions from chat, and if you guys have anything else, we're in the final bit now. So if you have anything to ask, ask now. Asterial asks, of the cosplay that you do, what is your favorite one that you most enjoy playing or dressing as?
Starfire is probably my one of my favorites, along with Wonder Woman. I have so many versions of them that I've done, and they're just both such drastically different characters, and it puts me in a different headspace both times. But I just feel great doing both of them.
And Softy says, how do you be good at everything?
I am a jack of all trades, master of none kind of situation, so I'm not good at any of them. I just can
I
do okay at all of
disagree,
them.
but I disagree. I feel like with and I base this a little bit off of conversation with you and then a little bit on what I see on social media, which is obviously curated information. But it doesn't ever feel like, whether it's the stream or baking or dice or anything like that, that you're half-assing anything. Like you are taking like a full shot at whatever it is that you're doing at the time.
Yeah. I guess I guess the only thing that I could really say about not necessarily that you'll be good at everything, but it's don't be afraid to fail.
Mm-hmm.
Like failure is the thing that holds everybody back from trying to succeed at anything. And so for me, I am not afraid to fail. That's why when I bake something for the first time on stream, if it goes wrong, that doesn't bother me. I'm not upset. I'm not embarrassed. It happens. I learn from it. Like learn from your mistakes and improve from there. And that's the only way that you'll get good at anything is just accepting that you will probably fail. And that's okay.
Softy, failure is not your life. Your kid's still alive, right? Right? Master Charles says, Hades cosplay win.
When I grow a beard like that guy.
And I guess final question from Asterial. Is there a particular genre of game that you adore playing on stream, or a specific game?
I do mostly cozy games. I love games that make it easy for me to focus on my community because I realize that's the thing that I'm big on. Like some people are what they call themselves to be community focused. And so I love being able to chat with people. So I don't play games that distract from chat. Like I love my shooter games. I love playing Division. I love playing Call of Duty, but I do not play them on stream because I focus hard on those games. Or like even Apex Legends, I'm just like, I am focused. I am watching what's happening in this game. We have a mission. Whereas with like Cozy Grove, Stardew Valley, I can just be like, "Oh yeah, let me just pause for a second, just chat with everybody," and it doesn't take me away from what it is I'm doing.
I don't know how people stream Apex Legends. I don't
No.
know how that. I know how people stream Dark Souls, because generally speaking, if you stop moving, you're not like necessarily in danger. But I
Yeah.
don't understand how people stream Apex Legends and talk to chat. It doesn't
Yeah,
make any sense to
no.
me at all.
There's one person I follow. Her name is Kate. That's just her username on Twitch. She's just Kate.
Oh,
And
Kate Stark, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And oh my God, I watching her it blows my mind because she'll play Apex Legends, she'll play PUBG, she'll do all of that, and she says hi to every single person that comes in. Like while in the middle of shooting someone, she's like, "Hi, thanks for coming in." I'm like, "What do you mean you can read chat and
Right.
shoot someone?"
We met Nerdez and I met Kate Stark at PAX South 4 years ago,
Mhm.
and her personality just really like resonated with us. And now she does a lot of like GTA RP stuff on like the No Pixel server,
Yeah,
and it is unbelievable how good she is at that.
it's absolutely mind blowing. Like the talent. Because
It's yeah,
I can't.
it's
So
too
that's
much.
why I've been invited to play Dead by Daylight as like co-streams, and I've done that, and even that game I'm like, I'm sorry chat, I'm in the middle of dying. Hold on.
Right. I have to ignore you. Sorry. Hold on.
Yep. A raid
Exactly.
comes in. I'm like, "Hi raiders, give me a second. You came in at the terrible time. Watching me scream, my bad."
That's perfect. Um, Chance, it's 10 o'clock. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today and for coming by and for taking time out of your vacation.
No, this is fun. I'm very excited to have finally been able to make it. Like I said, I've been looking forward to being able to just sit and chat with friends because one of the big things that I've learned in the last year and a half is that I have a very hard time conceptualizing and remembering to chat with people when they're not physically in front of me.
Hmm.
So it's like it's nothing against anybody if I haven't spoken to you in 6+ months. It's
Hmm.
the fact that if you're just not physically in front of me, will have a struggle trying to remember to respond to you. And that goes for everything in my life. Like I have friends who literally live 20 minutes from me and I haven't seen them in 6+ months because I just haven't seen them in front of me. So
Right.
I'm like,
I
"Ah."
I have that exact. One of the things that Nerdist is very good at is being like, "Hey, your friend Jason just had a baby. Did you text him?" And I went, "No." Like, and, right, yeah, right. I should probably do that. Um, but Chance, I thank you so much for coming by. If you haven't yet, go follow Chanzlyn. Her link is in the chat.
I am Chanzlyn. I use she, they pronouns. I do a little bit of everything. And when I say variety, I mean variety. I do cooking, baking, dice making, art, and video game streaming, along with just chatting streams. I just am here to vibe and have a good time. And so I'm excited to meet everyone.